Wearing a mask, it is one of the ways to stop the spread of COVID-19. Recently, the CDC announced new COVID-19 mask guidelines. So what do the new guidelines mean for you in your everyday life? Well, we're covering that and more in today's To Your Well-Being. So with us today, Cone Health's Chief Physician Executive, Dr. Bruce Swords, is with us. Let's start outside. When do we need to wear a mask outside?
Well, Tanya, thanks for having me. And the short answer to your question is not all that often. If you are outside in a large crowd, that would be the time to wear a mask. If you're outside with friends and family, can separate a little bit, there's not as much reason to wear a mask as there once was.
All right, so let's talk about the impact of social distancing and who you're with makes on whether you're wearing a mask or not.
Yeah, great question. And I like where you starting outside or inside. And so if you are with people who you know have been fully vaccinated, your risk of transmitting or catching COVID in that situation is pretty low. So with a few people around, fully vaccinated, no real reason to wear a mask. If you are in a closed room with people that you don't know their vaccination status, it's best to wear a mask. So, for example, if you're in a grocery store, wear a mask. If you are in another place of business where you just don't know who's in there, what the vaccination status of the patrons are, wear a mask.
But let's say outside a farmer's market or something like that.
Yeah, good question. I think in those situations where there's the possibility of crowds being around, wear a mask. If there really aren't any crowds around and you can be a good distance away from people, and you yourself are vaccinated, really no reason to wear a mask in those situations. Keep one handy just in case.
All right, so let's talk about kids. They may have been the most adaptive of all of us, right? They do whatever it is that, they had to do. So when do kids need to wear a mask and when can they take them off?
Well, like you said, we have known for a long time that kids are less likely to get sick and certainly less likely to get critically sick even if they do get COVID. So they can have COVID and be completely asymptomatic. And in general, I would say the same rules. If they are in a crowded classroom, they should wear a mask. If they are out on the playground running around and being active, they really don't need to wear a mask.
All right, and then one of the main questions that we got as soon as the new mask mandates came out with kids was, what about sports activities, including youth sports? Do you need to wear a mask if you're an athlete, a player? And then we'll talk about the spectators after that.
Kids who are healthy and playing a sport, the need to wear a mask is a lot less necessary than maybe we once thought. And so again, if you're outside, you're running, very active, really don't need to wear a mask.
All right, now what about those spectators that are on the sideline watching the little kids, soccer game or whatever it is?
Yeah, I've been in that situation before, and I know that the sidelines can get a little bit crowded. Parents are talking to each other and they're in close proximity. You may not know vaccination status of all of those people. In those situations, even outside, wear a mask.
Okay, how about some just common reminders that people need to know to be reminded about the masks, even though we've been wearing them for a long time?
Yeah, we have been wearing them for more than a year, and so we've become pretty comfortable with them. I think in general, if, I'd like to say use some common sense, and I really do think it's common sense, and that is if you are in a situation where you're going to be close to people that you don't know, and especially if you don't know their vaccination status, you should wear a mask and they should wear a mask. And it's a common courtesy. If you're outside walking in the park, unless it's extraordinarily crowded, you don't need to wear a mask. If you're outside being active, you really don't need to wear a mask, especially if you've had the vaccine. If you've been vaccinated, your risk of becoming sick with COVID is very low.
And so, even though we've been wearing them for more than a year, that doesn't mean that everybody's wearing them correctly.
Yeah, happy to respond to that. It doesn't take any of us very long to walk around a store or be outside and see people with a mask under their chin, just over their mouth. The right way to wear a mask is to have it over your mouth and nose. It covers the whole thing. The tighter the seal, the better. And really what you're doing, if you wear a mask, you're protecting me. When I wear a mask, I'm protecting you. And if we can go about this with the continued community spirit we've had around wearing a mask, again, this pandemic will finally get in our rearview mirror.
Yeah, and we definitely want to get back to whatever normal can be. And so the vaccine, of course, is also an important step in stopping the spread and getting us back. What kind of updates do we have about the vaccine and vaccine efficacy?
Well, we know that the vaccines are very effective, and the the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccines, their immune responses in the 95% range. And as far as protecting people from becoming severely ill, it's almost 100%. So we know those vaccines are very effective. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is also close to 100% effective in preventing serious illness. We know that vaccine uptake hasn't been as brisk as it had been a few months ago. We'd love to encourage everybody to get a vaccine. Every adult now is eligible to get the vaccine. They're easy to come by. Multiple places have walk-up vaccine appointments. It's the time to get the vaccine.
All right, so Dr. Swords is going to be with us until 6 o'clock answering your coronavirus questions. This is how you get your question to the expert for today. The number is 336-379-5775. You text your question. Don't call it, but text that question. We're going to be back for the next segment with your questions.